We're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday, July 6th, the post-July 4th holiday weekend. Hope everybody had a good time. The weather was pretty spectacular. It was dry. I heard a lot of fireworks. I don't think I saw a single one. A lot of sports going on over the weekend. Got JoJo Gentry joining us on the program today. Looking forward to that. Hope you had a good weekend, Jimmy. What went on with you? What you get done, man?
Not much. I went to a friend's, swam at his pool all day, and then had some people over here. And my neighbor always does a fireworks show. He spends like over $1,000 on fireworks. So he put on a nice little fireworks show in our cul-de-sac for us. It was fun to watch, man. I loved it.
Yep, got it. Got to get something done. But, it was pretty relaxing for me. But a lot going on in the world of sports. I'm looking forward to talking to JoJo Gentry when she comes on today, because I'm sure she was up at the track, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, over the weekend. A lot going on up there. A historic weekend there, as a matter of fact. They had an IndyCar race and an Xfinity race in the same day, and the Cup race the next day, which was yesterday. But big news in all of it. First of all, I guess – the biggest news here would be for Chase Briscoe, the kid from Mitchell, right down the road from us. He wins again. And not only does he win it for the fifth time on the Xfinity circuit this year, he wins at Indianapolis. And that's the first time the Xfinity cars have run there. It's the first time they ran that road course. And what a spectacular season this kid's having, man. Wow. He's on pace to set a record for wins in the first starts. He's only ran 14, 15 races, and he's got 5 wins already. It's amazing what he's got going. I'm going to be shocked if this kid is not in the Cup, in the Winston Cups, or not Winston Cup, that's the old days, in the NASCAR Cup Series next season, which would be gigantic. But he's driving for his hero, Tony Stewart. He climbed the fence after he won at Indianapolis. So it's a very cool deal, man. I mean, kids from Mitchell. And talk about Mitchell, Indiana, a little bitty old place. Got some famous people from it now. You got the Briscoes, but you've also got 3 astronauts that are from there. Crazy how small that town is, but they've got some famous people. Let's see. Victor Oladipo, we saw he was out for the season. He's not going to be playing, unfortunately. So when the Pacers come back, and we keep wondering what's going to happen, whether or not when people come back and what sports are going to be like, because things just keep changing every day. And Jimmy Johnson, as a matter of fact, talking about the Brickyard, which ran yesterday at Indianapolis. Kevin Harvick wins it, an exciting finish in which Denny Hamlin actually was leading this race with 2 laps to go, and blows a tire. And he was probably not going to be caught. But unfortunately, that happened to him. Kevin Harvick gets the win. But more importantly, Jimmy Johnson, is 7-time NASCAR Cup champion, didn't even race in this race because he had COVID. So COVID has invaded every aspect of every sport. And Jimmy Johnson, arguably the biggest name in NASCAR still, because he's 7-time champion. So that was kind of big news. 31 Major League Baseball players test positive for COVID. So it's going to be a weird summer and a weird fall still. I don't know how it's going to go, actually. And before I forget, Steve Bushy is also he's in an Evansville hospital. He had a heart attack over the weekend, unfortunately, and our thoughts and prayers going out to the former Hoosier. He played on Bob Knight's 1981 national championship team from Washington, Indiana. So our thoughts and prayers to go out to him and his family, thinking about him. Hope that he can get better soon. But too many Hoosiers here of late. We've had to talk about in that regard, but hopefully that one will pass soon. But speaking of Washington, the Redskins, well, I guess, are you even allowed to say that anymore? The Washington the NFL team is now expected to change their name now. Multiple major sponsors, Nike, Pepsi, FedEx, they've said that, hey, we're leaving. Now minority owners, and by minority, I mean they only own a portion of it, but all the underlying owners of the franchise said they want out. They don't want to deal with Dan Snyder anymore. It's a lot. If you're a Washington fan, that's not a lot going on there. That's not good. So we'll see how that turns out. The TBT got underway yesterday, and of course, we had Mo Creek and Remy Abel on last week. They had a good run. They both I forget who scored what, but I know that they had a win. So they played
Remy
again
had
on
17
Tuesday.
and Mo Creek had 13 points.
Yeah, Remy Abel 17 points, Mo Creek 13. The sideline cancer TBT opening round win over I forget who they beat. Anyway, they won. They move on. They play again. Next up, they play Challenge ALS Tuesday at 2 p.m. So did you watch any, Jimmy? Did you watch any the TBT?
I did not on Saturday during the 4th, but I watched a little bit yesterday. I got to catch the end of the sideline cancer game because I mainly wanted to watch the IU guys. But it was cool, man. I mean, first live basketball event, able to watch. I mean, it's weird watching them play with no fans, so it kind of makes you realize what it's going to be like watching the NBA with no fans. But, I mean, hey, it's some kind of basketball. It's something better than nothing.
Yep, and there was basketball, more basketball news over the weekend. Maybe we'll get Alec on here in a second to talk to him about it. But I know Leland Walker, another Indiana kid, spoke with Archie. Archie's really making a run at getting these Indiana kids, which you talked about that. A big deal for them, but they've also got to continue to add this outside talent. But I think this is going to be – I sent a text out yesterday that this group now I forgot to mention that Christian Lander is now on campus as well. So Christian Lander on campus yesterday. His dad sent us a picture of Make signing everything. And so now Archie has all 4 members of this 2020 class on campus together. But not only that, this is a close-knit group already. These guys have played together coming in, which is hugely important. We've talked about that a lot. But not only that, they have existing relationships with guys that are already on this team. Guys like Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin, but it goes beyond that. I mean, they know them probably the best because of AAU and whatnot, but they already have existing relationships with current team members. That is different, quite different than what it has been these last several years. It's been a disjointed team, whether you're talking about people that have just left that were from the previous coaching regime that just didn't seem to gel with what Archie was trying to do. Whether you're talking about Romeo Langford, who had a tremendous personal season, but it didn't seem to gel with the team. And again, that partly goes back to other things that had nothing to do with Romeo. But regardless, they were there. They happened. Those things are being gotten rid of now. The closeness of this team, I think, is going to be of uber importance because they will finally be playing together. And that's something that I don't think Hoosier fans have seen for 3 seasons. They have not seen the basketball team play together. That's going to start happening just because of the closeness of these kids, that they all want the same thing for the same reason. And it's going to be a gigantic difference, no doubt, in my mind about that. Now, does that mean they win every game? No, of course not. You still have to put the ball in the hoop. You still have to score. You have to hit free throws. You have to do all the fundamentals. You have to do the things. But I think that's going to be a lot more readily available, right? A lot more seen because these guys are going to be playing together. And man, it's like I said, it hasn't happened in the last couple of years, and it's made a huge difference. There's no consistency. There's no flow. And Archie took a lot of heat for that, and that's who takes the heat, the head coach, when that doesn't happen. Not always necessarily completely their fault, and I think that there may be some of that here But again, that's going to be going away soon. The closeness of this team is something I don't think you've seen for a long time. And we'll look forward to seeing how that does work out if we're able to see that again. We're right now we're hoping to just have college football. Things continue. I mean, I'm not saying we're not gonna. It's just a scary proposition.
I think the biggest thing about college football, what I think is going to happen, is you're going to see the games. I mean, we've talked about it with Dustin Schutte a lot too. Like, he's mentioned Ohio State having to travel to Oregon like week 2. I don't think those games are going to happen. I think it's going to be just conference games. I think the schedule is going to be shortened. Obviously, fans are going to be a big part of it too, whether you're going to have 20% capacity or 50% capacity. It could get lowered because we don't know if this second spike is going to get worse or not. So,
yeah, and it only makes sense. I mean, those teams, those pre-conference games, generally those are all played at home for Indiana, which fine for them. But I don't know that's going to make sense for those other teams to travel. I don't know that they're going to. But there's contracts, so it's just, we'll have to see.
The other thing too, money,
because the coaches are going to want those preseason game or pre-conference games because they want to play those to tune up for conference play, and Indiana needs that desperately. But unfortunately, their first game of the year is already a conference game. It's Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Now, whether or not that gets changed or not, I don't know. But man, that's a tough ask to. Especially you're coming off, and yeah, I know that they went through the same thing, but hey, man, they're ahead, they're better, they're supposed to be, so they already have an advantage. But man, now you're asking an Indiana team that's gone through this pandemic of not being able to practice, not having the spring practice. Which, yes, again, I know that Wisconsin didn't either, but they're ahead of Indiana talent-wise, coaching-wise, all of that. So they have a gigantic advantage, and this is going to be on the road, which. How much is that going to affect things this year? If there's college football, how much is it going to affect being on the road if there are no fans? I mean, if you're in the big house and there's not 110,000 people, I'm not sure it really matters. As a matter of fact, I know it doesn't matter because, I mean, it doesn't matter as far as it's not going to hurt these teams. I was having this discussion Bill Jonas the other day, and he said he's noticed it in the Premier League, soccer league, where 55% of the travel teams have won games in the opening weeks of that league, which is unusual, but there are no fans there. And that's certainly, we know soccer in Europe is a crazed filled fan sport. Lots of noise. It makes a gigantic difference. And when you don't have that, there's no what's the only difference is you're playing on a different subsurface. That's it. I mean, other than that, that's it. And I think that's going to be it could completely affect who is the college football champion this year. So we got to take a break, I see. So we're going to do that. Coming up next, JoJo Gentry from Fox 59 is going to join us. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with JoJo Gentry right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this July 6th, Monday, post-July 4th holiday. Joined now by JoJo Gentry from Fox 59 in Indianapolis. JoJo, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Jim. I'm good. How are you?
Great. What a great weekend. I assume you're out at the track all weekend.
Actually, Jim, I didn't step foot on the track.
Oh, well, yeah, a lot of people didn't. I didn't know if you were lucky enough to get to go up there, but yeah, a lot of people didn't, but it was certainly a great weekend for that up there.
Yeah, it was actually amazing too, just to watch from the studio. I was actually anchoring our shows from in-house while we had 2 reporters and 2 photographers out there. We just wanted to limit the number of people as much as possible, and so did the Speedway. But I mean, honestly, Jim, it was just so cool to cover live sports in Indianapolis for one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to top it off on I guess it was Saturday, Chase Briscoe. First of all, what a magical season. I don't know how anybody can have a magical season in 2020, but he is the only person in the world that I think is, and he certainly is with his 5th Xfinity Series win. Not only that, he wins at Indianapolis. The kid's from Mitchell, Indiana. I mean, what a storybook. And then Justin Haley second. What a storybook finish for these guys, these kids.
Yeah, and it's funny. I actually had to look up where Mitchell, Indiana was. I had no idea. I learned it's actually close to you, near Bloomington.
Just south of Bedford.
Yeah. So 4,500 people, it says online, that live in that town. And obviously Winnemac, where Justin Haley is from, is also another small town here in the Hoosier State. So it was just cool to see 2 Hoosiers lead the way in the Xfinity Series. And I know the Xfinity Series doesn't always get the hype that, IndyCar, NASCAR do. But it was just cool to see 2 Hoosiers lead the way. And I'm talking about those final 10 laps. I know the guys out on the track were on the edges of their seats, and so were we in the studio for sure.
Yeah, what a fun weekend. And again, what the Indiana touch, unbelievable. You couldn't even really plan it that way, but they did get the races in. It was spectacular, too, because not only you have Cup race this weekend, you had an Xfinity race and an IndyCar race on that same day as the Xfinity. What a great weekend for watching, at least. I know getting people out to things is the biggest deal, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. A lot going on. I know there was a lot of basketball has been going on up in Indianapolis the last couple weekends. So things are trying to get to normal. People are trying to get out there, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation at this point. I mean, we've tried to bring it up in the office, like, what's it going to be like? What's this going to be like? Are we going to be able to do this? And it's Jim, there are just so many I don't knows. I mean, I don't know if you saw the NFL, like, there's some information about media access coming up. We received word that there are going to be no in-person interviews until further notice for coaches and players. But everybody's going to have access to, the virtual interviews, of course. But that just changes the game, because I've brought this up to a couple of people, just even outside media, who ask, like, what's the biggest difference when you're speaking with somebody in person compared to online? And it's like, when you, and Jim, as you know, when you speak with somebody in person, it's like you can read their mannerisms, their body language, and that, to me, that's a part of the story. Like, how are they standing? What's their vibe? And you don't get that with virtual interviews. So it's like you have to be more prepared than ever. I think now for an interview, especially when you have to conduct it via Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, to actually get the full story of, what's going on. And two, I think players and coaches, it's a little bit, some are open to talking about how they've been, what they've been doing during this time, and some of them have just kept private, so, which I don't blame them. That's fine, but it's just interesting to see who's more vocal and who's more quiet,
Absolutely. It's definitely been a challenge during this time, creating content and talking to as many people as possible. But you're absolutely right. The Zoom thing is nice, better than nothing, but you do not get the personal connection because of exactly what you said. And because whenever I talk to people, I don't have, unless there's certain things I definitely want to ask, I don't have a list. I go off of I just have a conversation and I let it go from there. And it's a lot easier to do that in person or one-on-one live than certainly in a group setting like that.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, it's like I can't get a tee time at a public course in Indiana. It's like we golfed in Bloomington a couple weeks ago. But I don't know what your experiences have been like trying to get tee times on the golf course, but I guess that's what everybody is doing nowadays.
Yeah, that's about the only thing you can do. And that's, think about that, because the summertime, especially in a town like Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a city that is just blows up during the summer with sports, whether it's at Westfield or wherever we're talking about. There are always just tons of tournament, baseball, soccer going on in Indianapolis. The hotels, the fields. I mean, I know how much it is the amateur capital of the world. It's got to be. There's just so much always going on. And to not have that, I mean, man. But not only that, the kids are not getting that. Then we talk about the kids are not getting to play AAU ball. They're not getting seen by the college coaches like they normally would. There is just a gigantic ripple effect that this thing continues to cause.
Yeah. It's been interesting, Jim, to see who's decided to turn pro, who's decided to stay another year, whether it's an extra year of eligibility in college or high school. I mean, we saw Christian Lander out of Evansville, who, for people who don't know, I covered local sports in Evansville at WEVV from 2015 to 2019, and Christian Lander was one of the most outstanding high school basketball players I covered when I was down there. And for those who don't know or don't follow IU basketball as much, he decided to forego his senior year of high school at Rice to play basketball at IU. And I think he wanted to be a Hoosier no matter what, but it was just one of those decisions that, the coronavirus came to mind. Is it, I had to ask, those who knew him, was it a decision based on he was just ready to go, or did the pandemic have any influence? And ultimately, just based on people I talked to, I think he was just ready, and he felt like he could contribute. And I believe he's in Bloomington now as we speak, but it's just been so interesting to see, the choices and the paths that athletes have taken at this time.
Yeah, he got Christian arrived in Bloomington on yesterday. He's officially signed a member of that class now after reclassifying, like you said. He gives up a lot. He gives up the opportunity to chase the Mr. Basketball title in Indiana next year. He won't be a member of the All-Star team, which he would have been definitely an All-Star member and a leading candidate for Mr. Basketball. So he gives that up because he wants to go play. He wants to play with Trayce Jackson-Davis and those guys that he's so familiar with on his AAU team. And he knew that Trayce Jackson, this is probably going to be his last year. Not definite, but we'd love to see him play a third season. But it's very possible that this would be the only year Christian gets to play with Trayce Jackson-Davis. So, and plus we know he can contribute. Archie Miller has said as much. I think he could start on this team possibly next year. There's no doubt about that. But, what a great athlete, Christian Lander, out of Evansville.
Yeah, and you've got Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway in that class, too. I mean, this incoming class is stacked.
Absolutely, and it's stacked with a bunch of Indiana kids in addition to Jordan Geronimo coming from the Northeast. But I sent out a text yesterday that got a lot of love that Archie Miller now has. He's got all four of his guys on campus, but he's also got a group that was already a tight-knit group in that recruiting class because of playing together and just really communicating with each other. But they also had previous relationships with current team members, which he hasn't had that with his team before. It was kind of disjointed and almost the opposite, kind of fractured a little bit. I think he's getting more and more of a cohesive unit, and I think that's going to make a gigantic difference this season.
Oh, yeah. And, I've interviewed all three of the Indiana natives that are going to IU over the course of before the coronavirus. I got to speak with Anthony and Trey in person in the wintertime. And, obviously one of the questions I have is, how well do you know the other guys coming in? And their reactions each time were they were all smiles. They're like, oh, we know each other really well. We play AAU together. And then obviously, we call and text and stay in touch. And, I know those guys hang out in their off time. So, chemistry is going to be a huge advantage for that class. And, especially with Christian coming in a year early, I'm sure he can build off of what he, has already done, and especially just the maturity of the other guys he's going to be around.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to the dynamic. I mean, this team has not had a backup point guard per se, not a designated one. I mean, Al Durham has played that role, but that's not his normal position. Rob Phinisee has needed some help for a few years. He's getting that now. And with Rob Phinisee being a third-year player, he's going to have a lot that he can teach Christian Lander. Christian Lander has got some great talent. He's very quick with the ball, and he's going to add a dynamic to this team that they haven't had for a couple of Archie has not had since he's been here. So he's going to have a few things that he hasn't had since he's been here. And I think that, as I said, I think this is going to be his best team yet. It definitely should be. They're not going to have a choice. They do, but they're going to have to be up. I think this is a top 4 team in the Big Ten this year. We'll certainly hopefully find out.
See.
Well, JoJo, what's coming up next for you this week? I'm sure that after the big long weekend of working, you get a day off, at least one day maybe. But what's coming up next for you?
That's actually in the works at this time. We were in the studio last night until about midnight, just combing through our coverage and looking at what we have and had. And today, I don't know if you saw a tweet, but there was a report that came out that, Colts quarterback Phillip Rivers raised a big question on the NFL Players Association call on Friday that, he asked if a player does test positive for the virus during Super Bowl week but is asymptomatic, do they have no choice but to sit out? And they said yes. So not sure if that's going to be my story for today, but, as the Players Association and the league release more information or reporters find out information as to what fans can expect for this upcoming season. that's at least something that I might be delving into today.
Well, that kind of goes along with what we saw at NASCAR at the Brickyard this weekend. Jimmie Johnson, the biggest name in NASCAR, not there because he was COVID positive, and don't know how he's going to miss not only that race, but it affects his playoff potential. He dropped a few spots yesterday. He's only 2 above the cutoff line to make the chase, and then so he was supposed to do an Indy test. I know he has interest in running Indy cars. He was supposed to do a test for Chip Ganassi Racing, I think, next weekend. He's not going to be able to make that either.
You know, it's just like when that news came out. Funny story, Jim. I was, I believe that report came around like 15 minutes until the 7 o'clock hour, and I was actually in the studio while our Dave Griffiths was out at the track, covering sports for Fox 59, and at the very end of his sportscast, he just kind of let out the blurb of like, oh, by the way, Jimmie Johnson has tested positive for the coronavirus at Baltimore this weekend. And that's the first I had heard of it. And I was like, are you serious? Because I was just watching the show. And my first reaction was, he doesn't get to say goodbye. You know, this was supposed to be Jimmy's farewell in Indianapolis in the Cup Series. And it's like, he just didn't get that opportunity. It's like, not to say I wish anybody would get the virus by any means, but it's like, of all people, it has to happen to Jimmie Johnson. You know?
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I think that we will probably see him in Indianapolis, though. It will just not be in a NASCAR. I think you might see him in a Chip Ganassi Indy car next season. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah.
Well, JoJo, I cannot thank you enough for joining us. I appreciate it as always. Make sure you give her a follow on Twitter if you don't already. Follow her on Fox 59 in Indianapolis. JoJo, I thank you so much. I hope you have a great week.
All right, Jim. Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You betcha. JoJo Gentry joining us from Fox 59 in Indianapolis, talking about all the things that went on over the weekend. Coming up next, Jim Reamer is going to join us. We're going to talk about some basketball recruiting, see what went on over the weekend. Not a lot. Leland Walker, I know he had his name was bouncing around after a conversation with Archie Miller, but we've heard that name before as well. But looking forward to talking to Jim in a few minutes about that. But yeah, man, the Jimmie Johnson thing, that was huge. It does suck for him. He's retiring. This is his last season. That's what JoJo was talking about. This is his last season in NASCAR. He's a 7-time champion and does not get to run at Indianapolis in the NASCAR series in his final year, unless I would not be surprised to see him back next year just for that race, especially if it's before the Indianapolis 500. Oh, it won't be because it'll be July 4th. So next year's Indy 500 would come first. So wouldn't be surprised to see Jimmie Johnson do the double next year, run the Indy and the Brickyard to close that out. We'll see. Hey, coming up next, we're going to talk to Jim Reamer. We're going to talk some college basketball recruiting and see what's going on out there. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with that right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
And I didn't fold. Well, it ain't that hard when you got sold. This is my world. Somewhere I heard that life is.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle here, sitting in with you here on this Monday. It's July 6th. Joined now by Jim Reamer from Quartzsite, Indiana. Jim, how's it going, man?
Doing well, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being back with us. Not a lot last weekend. A lot going on. I don't know if there was how much was going on this past weekend, basketball wise, but it's certainly we got a taste of it last week. And what was? How about this weekend?
There was enough. It only needs to be about one event to keep people busy, especially what we're going through right now. But I had a chance to go down to Evansville to watch the Pocket City Basketball League down there, and then spent the weekend at an event here in Indianapolis hosted by George Hill Group and primarily at Jet Teague or Marcus Teague's facility on the west side of the Speedway. There's plenty of basketball for the weekend for sure.
Are any new names out there? I know we hear a lot of these names. I know Leland Walker's a name that we've heard before, but obviously he had some attention from Indiana this weekend, which obviously is going to put his name more in the forefront. 5'10", and I know that we've seen plenty of guys that just have great college careers at 5'10". Archie Miller is one of those guys, so he's not going to be afraid to recruit a kid just because he's not 6 foot, obviously. But this kid's pretty special.
Yeah, I've got him. Yeah, he's anywhere between 5'10" and 6 feet, and he's a dynamic athlete. When he was a freshman, I've written some things about him in the past, and when he was a freshman, you can tell the athleticism was there. You can tell the talent was there. The question was just little things like managing a team in a half court, understanding pace, not just speed, and he's changed all of that last year. He looked really good last year, and now what he did this past weekend was he was the best player in the tournament, basically, is how I saw it. He made plays defensively, was active on both ends. He had some spectacular dunks that have been going around social media, but the best part of his game this weekend didn't make the highlight film, was just a lot of his decision making and his ability to not just see plays involving his teammates, but create plays and understanding spacing, understanding separation, especially coming off ball screens. and knowing which read to make as he views how plays are being defended, and even a couple times stretching plays out to where he could make that decision for the defender even tougher, and then of course making the right play after that. And I think the one question, size is a question. There's there's no doubt about that, especially if you're talking about a high major. And his shooting there was some questions asked about his shooting. I've always liked his shot. I know that when you're young, sometimes it's streaky, but as he's gotten stronger, he's gotten bigger. It's really starting to smoothen out. His mechanics are definitely repeatable. And he shot the ball very well this past weekend. And from the court they played on, they didn't have a high school line, so they were playing with the college and NBA 3-point line. The 2 games I saw him play, so that's the kind of range he was showing this weekend, and it was evident he has improved in a number of ways.
Are there any other names out there that we have not heard? That, because I know you see a lot. You see a lot more action than I do, for sure. Are there any names out there that you think we could possibly hear that we haven't?
Well, I mean, Javon Small at Franklin Central had a big weekend as well. And every time I've seen him play this spring, this summer, he's done a little bit more to kind of win me over. And with Christian Lander reclassifying to 2020 and now no longer being a high school player, Javon Small, in my mind, is the best point guard in the incoming senior class in the state. And he picked up Ball State and Indiana State offers this weekend, and those were his first 2 offers. And it's strange to have a kid get those types of offers that late in the process. It's not late in the process, but we're far along now where a lot of his classmates were getting offers, this time last year, if not a touch earlier. But what I like about him, if we're talking about it in the context of an Indiana podcast that features Indiana basketball and a website that talks a lot about it, he has the body to compete at that level. He's about 6'1", 6'2". He's really long. He's definitely strong. And you look at him and you start nitpicking things like his shoulders. He's got nice broad shoulders that he can certainly put more positive weight on. And the question for him is how does he do this against, how does he play against, great competition? Is he going to get that chance with the types of schedules that we're going to have this summer? I'm not sure yet. Physically, I think he can handle it. His outside shot is more of a set shot at this point, but I look for that to improve. And really not knowing a ton about him until February, I don't know how well he shot it before that. But I know that he's shot the ball well so far this spring. But it is a bit of a set shot from range, and it is a little bit of a slower release. So those are things that they'll look at. But the rest of his game, I really like it. I don't know that he'll creep into high major offers, but that's definitely a kid to look at, especially if a school, especially a Big East school, ends up needing a point guard who can come in and have a really good 4-year career there.
And now the coaches can't go to watch these games, and they can watch them on. A lot of these games are streamed, but like anything, TV does not convey everything it does when you're there live. How much are some of these kids that are in that, like the kid you're just talking about right now? It sounds like a tweener that with the right day or the right summer, the right performance, the right coach being there, an opportunity may come along that may not happen this season.
Will he have to get seen?
What I mean is because of the differences now when coaches have to see everything. If they see anything, it's going to be by a streamed game. And while that's good, TV does not always relay everything that you see while you're in person. And I think some of these kids are going to miss opportunities because of that.
Well, what the TV does, and in every instance, is it controls the field of view. Where a college coach will sit there and at a game courtside, and he has control over what he's looking at. So he could look at a kid like Leland or like Javon or like any of these guards. I mean, it was a good weekend for point guards. They really went at each other, and but But what a coach will do is look for little things to try to separate one from another. And a lot of it is, sometimes it's intensity, sometimes it's how well do they talk on the court, are they providing leadership, are they being a good teammate, are they helping, are they verbally helping each other defensively, are they coachable when they come off the floor? And those types of things can be the difference between a coach liking a kid or loving a kid or in some cases liking him and not liking him. And so the TV controls the field of view 100% of the time, whereas when you're at the game, you control the field of view because it's your own set of eyes. So those types of things, that's what matters the most. The other thing is right now, if we're not traveling, we're basically playing the same teams a lot. And that's fun, especially if you're a local guy and you're able to see some games and see some of these rivalries play out, especially since most of these kids know each other really well. But, they're not going to get a chance. I mean, as good as the class of 2021 is in this state, guys like Small and guys like Luke Brown and then even if you spend it down to 2022 with Leland Walker, those guys need to be pushed into situations where they're not anticipated to be the best the best guard on the court or among the best guards on the court. They've got to be pushed into situations where they're playing bigger talent more often instead of just maybe in the final 8 or final 4 of an event. So those opportunities are being lost right now.
And I saw that Christian Lander arrived on campus yesterday. He's the last of the class to get there and kind of late getting there. But, of course, he was dealing with the reclassification, doing all that. But now Archie Miller has his entire 2020 class on campus. And not only that, I talked about this earlier, this is a group that's already pretty close-knit. Played with each other. They know each other. They also have relationships with guys that are already on this team, which that's something Archie has not had. He has not had a group that has been as close as this. There's been some dysfunction there a little bit, but that's kind of gone away now or going away.
Yeah, attrition takes care of a lot of that sometimes, but also having a team full of guys that you recruited too, or at least primarily full of guys you recruited. And the thing with Lander, he gives them that secondary primary ball handler that they didn't necessarily have last year. Devontae Green really probably skill-wise could handle it, but disposition-wise wasn't the best fit. And with Fennessy injured and really probably not ever fully healthy last year, that put a lot of pressure early in the year on Armand Franklin. And that put a lot of pressure on Green to maybe change the way he approached possessions. And now they're just going to have more options, even if it has to be Franklin at times. Let's say somebody gets injured, or let's say Lander has what typically freshmen do; they struggle. Even having Franklin with with a full year under his belt will help, and hopefully a healthy Tennessee. But it'll be curious because they recruit 3 wings. I've not seen Geronimo play, but kind of everybody seems to think he's the best of those 3. But then you look at Leal, and he gives them what they sorely missed last year, which was outside shooting. And but the obviousness is that they've got options now, and those guys are going to compete against each other in practice and push each other, not just among themselves as freshmen, but with the rest of the team too.
Absolutely agree. And you mentioned Rob Fennessy, and if he goes out, you didn't really have a true point guard in the game at any time. And a Christian Lander will change that dramatically, but he also changes it because he's a quick man. He is really quick with the ball. Of course, I know he's going to be a freshman, and freshmen have to slow down before they can speed up a lot of times. But man, he is really fast with the ball, and Indiana hasn't seen that for a few years.
No, and even Yogi, who's really good coming off ball screens at a young age. Even he wasn't getting downhill that much as a freshman, and he was able to stretch out defenses because he could shoot. And even if he didn't have great shooting numbers as a freshman, I'm not going to be able to recall them what they were, but just knowing that he can shoot, that he can hit shots, and that he can get hot. Teams had to change the way teams had to definitely account for him, And I think this year Indiana is going to be able to have that type of a roster where they're not going to have dead situations where they don't have anybody who can't shoot consistently. They're going to be able to put shooters on the floor now, and even if that's forcing, guys into rotations simply because they can shoot. And but it'll be interesting to see how the other guy, how the newcomer or the guys that are returning, how they've developed their outside shot too, because it can't just be that they've added Leo and Lander as guys who shot well in high school. It's got to be the whole development of the whole roster.
And we look forward to next year's class. I think Archie, which this is all prediction and all that, but I think Archie's going to end up landing his best class ever next season. I think he's just in a really good position with a lot of these players, and that's just going to add on to what he has built up to this point. But I think they are looking really, really good with some really high recruits. Now, of course, I'm talking about Trey Kaufman, Mason Miller. I think both of those guys end up coming to Indiana. Of course, that's a total prediction. But if that happens, man, this team continues to make gigantic strides talent-wise.
I love Kaufman. I saw him 2 weeks ago. He is looking to play through contact more than he has in the past. I mean, off the draw, I should say. That's going to be valuable. I anticipate Trace Jackson Davis won't be there when Kaufman, when that class gets on campus. So it's unfortunate. That would be a nice group of bigs for Coach Miller to have, but he still would be a good fit with Race Thompson, who will be then a senior that year. And then he'll also be obviously a good fit going forward with Duncan. The state guys I've not seen much of, and I don't watch a whole lot of video on them. But yeah, I know they're involved with some pretty high profile players, and that's as you look at it from a standpoint of like for Indiana to get involved with Leo Walker. Of course, I'd like for a lot of these schools to get involved with Leo Walker because I like Leo Walker, but they got to finish out or get a better grasp of 2021 before they can get entirely too deep into 2022. And I think that's shown up in the offers that they've made. They don't put out a lot of extra offers like maybe the previous regime did.
Yeah, that is definitely one thing that we have not seen, and I think that's something that works for a team's benefit, because when you do that, I don't think those offers carry as much weight. And Archie Miller has done that. He has treated an Indiana offer with reverence, and I think that matters to these players.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes you get kids too, like right now, again, going back to Leland, he's got his Xavier offer, and that's a high major offer. And if that's the level that he ends up going, I know most of these kids do, unless they have an ultimate dream school in their mind, they tend to gravitate toward that first one of whatever level that is, so right now Xavier's establishing a relationship with him, and other schools are going to have to figure out how aggressive they want to be with him. That would be the same with Butler, it'd be the same with Purdue. It'd be the same with any high major school in this area, in this region, that would recruit, a kid from Indianapolis. So,
something else I was talking about earlier, just in general, in sports in general, we just got a couple minutes left here, is with no fans in the stands, and I don't expect that to be the case for football and probably college basketball this year. But without fans in the stands, you basically lose the home field advantage. And I was talking about the Premier League has seen 55% of road teams win in the first few weeks. That could change a lot of things, and whether it's especially college football, but on both sides of it, that could just completely be a dynamic changer.
It can. Football is a different deal than basketball. I never hear an arena for a basketball game quiet when the offense has the ball, and when the home team has the ball. Football makes a huge difference on the quarterback's ability to audible, on the play calling, just in general. And you're not going to have that type of obstacle for the road team, so there's no question. I don't know what the impact is on basketball. Obviously, players can feel the enthusiasm of the fans, both positively and negatively. But you might also know some guys that struggle with that type of pressure too. That even the hometown guy can struggle because there's 17,000 people in the stands really wanting him to do well. It's just a different circumstance. It gets them back to the AAU days where it's just friends and family in the stands, and sometimes just family. So as someone who's used to coaching in empty gyms, and as someone who's also coached at the high school level, at the end of the day, if these guys take care of their business, especially communication-wise, it probably won't be that huge of a difference from a basketball standpoint. So the better coach team, the better executing team, the team that shoots better that day will probably still win games, but we'll see.
Well, it absolutely makes sense. Jim, thank you for joining us from Courtside, Indiana. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter if you don't already. I appreciate you as always, man. I hope you have a great week.
Will do, Jim. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim, from Courtside, Indiana, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Monday. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks a lot to JoJo Gentry from Fox 59. And, of course, we just wrapped up with Jim Reamer there. We've got more coming up for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And I hope you go out and have a great day. Do something nice for somebody. Say something nice to somebody. For Jimmy, I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.